Hello everyone, hope you guys are doing well. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can handle a project management in a digital agency using tools like ClickUp, Asana, or Trello. So before going to explain you the tool, I'm going to explain you one of the most core skill of a project manager, that is breaking down the project, or you can say simplifying the project hierarchy. So this is the the first task of a project manager whenever you have a project. Okay, so to simplifying a project hierarchy, we need to break down the project into three distinct layers. That is a high level task level, and the subtask level. So whenever you have a project, you need to break it down into three distinct layers. So it doesn't matter which tool you are using, like ClickUp, Asana, or Trello. So every single tools is basically built on these core fundamental, the structure. So if you master in this particular structure, like breaking down the project into the hierarchy, like high level, task level, or subtask level, you can manage any project in any particular software. So it doesn't matter ClickUp, Asana, or Trello, or or Jira. So if you understand the project hierarchy and how to break down the project hierarchy to simply like how to simplify the project hierarchy, you can manage that particular project in any tool. So it can be ClickUp, it can be Asana, or it can be Jira. So uh, let me explain you before going to show you the example, I'm going to show you some definition. For example, high level is basically, it's a big picture. It's the phase or milestone. So whenever you think about phase or milestone, you need to think about that is a high level. So you have to break it down in as a milestone level. So that is we can call it a high level. And then there is a task level. So every milestone, you need to break it down at a couple of tasks, right? So every high level task, you need to break it down into the task level, and every task can be break it down into the more granular level. That is we call the subtask. So subtask might have more subtasks. So this is the more granular and actionable items, that is we call subtask. So what we have learned here, so we have learned, so whenever you have a project, so when you are going to manage a project, it can be web development, it can be outbound email campaign. So whatever project you have in your hand, you first need to break it down into three distinct layers. So that is we call simplifying the project hierarchy. So, okay. So as you can see, for example, here, this is the high level, like you can have like a phases or milestone, that is your high level task, and then you need to break it down into, like, there would be 5 or 10 task level work, and then task level work you need to break it down, like each task can be, there can be more than 5 or 10, the sub task level. So this is how you can say the project hierarchy or deconstruction, or you can say simplifying the project hierarchy. And okay, so the next thing you need to understand, okay, always people have confusion. So what is task and what is a subtask, right? So for example, I have added, three way to, distinguish between what is task and what is a subtask. So if it's required a handoff, for example, designer needs to hand off it to the developers. If it's yes, then it's a task. If no, then you can consider it's a subtask. So this is one example. If it requires a hands off, for example, you have done, for example, designer done his space, then it needs to send it to, for example, review, or you can say it needs to send to the developers. Then you can consider it's a task or subtask, right? So if it's required handoff, then it's a task. Then estimation. Okay, so if it's more than 2 hours, then you can consider it's a task. But if it's less than 2 hours, you can consider it's a subtask. And there is another way to decide it's a subtask or task. Then there is, like, you have a dependency or not. If there is a dependencies, then it's a task, and if there is no dependencies, then it's a subtask. So there I have added one rule of thumb, that is, if you can't sit down and do it one sitting, then it's a task. Okay. If it requires multiple steps to finish, again, here we come to like, the simplifying the hierarchy. If it requires multiple steps, means multiple subtasks, then those steps are basically what? Subtasks. So it should be under one particular task. So you have to keep in mind only three things. That is only two things. That is, first you need to break it. Whenever you have a project, you need to break it down into three distinct layers. Then you have to decide like what is task and like what is task and subtask. So you need to decide between task and subtask. So let me show you quickly one particular example so that you can understand. And I will show you this particular example with ClickUp and Asana as well. For example, here is a project I have right now. The project is basically, the standard 5-page website development. So now we need to break it down. Now we need to decide. That's, you can say, the critical thinking. Now we need to break it down into high level, task level, and the subtask level. So the phase one is basically, you can say, okay, what do we do normally? So discover a strategy. So we do here that, that this is a high level task, right? Discover the strategy. Whenever you have a client, so you need to discover what they need to build, or what is the strategy, what is their product about, right? So there's the high level task. So this is the phase one, that is, the discover the strategy. So this is the high level task, and it has a task. So the task is conduct client onboarding workshop, right? So whenever we are onboarding a client, so we need to do a workshop or meetings or several meetings regarding to get, to gather the requirements from the clients. So it has three subtasks. Okay. So for example, we are going to send free meeting questionnaire, right? So we normally send, the form fill up to get the information from the clients. Then we review their, the competitor websites. Then whenever we have a meeting with the client, so we record the meeting notes, right? For the team. We record. So this is the task. This is the high level. This is the task level, and the task has under subtask level. So depends on the company to company. So there it would vary. So it might have like more tasks here, right? So there is another task that is finalizing the sitemap architecture. So whenever meeting is done, then the next task is finalizing the sitemap structure. So let's think in, how we are going to deconstructing this particular task, right? So finalizing the sitemap architecture, you need two subtasks. That is draft version 1 of a sitemap in Miro or Figma. Then we need to send it to the client for a sign off, right? So whenever your design is finished, so you need to get the review or feedback from the client so that you can, you know, uh, sign off the contract basically. So that particular subtask is break down into two more subtasks, this particular task. Then the one particular discover and strategy high level, this is done. Then the next phase is basically content and design, right? So here we have two tasks. So here we have home page design mockup. So we design the home page. So here we have a subtask, source the stock images or icons, right? In particular, in home page, we have images, icons, right? So that's one particular subtask. Then we have create wireframe, wireframe. So we design the wireframe, the UI UX guy designed that. Then we apply the UI key. For example, company have like their own color, typography. So we are going to implement that here, applying. So content and design, this is a high level. So this, if we want to finish this high level, we have two tasks here. This one, homepage and homepage design mockup. And here we have another task, that is content collection, right? So this particular task have three subtasks, and this content collection has two subtasks. Create Google Drive folder for client and content collection. So if it's a content collection, so you need to think like how many subtasks we have in this particular task, right? So when you collecting the content from the client, so you can have like it could be in a different way. So it's just an example. So you can create Google Drive folder so that client can come and they can upload their contents into particular drive and follow up with them like regarding about us and team bios, right? So content collection. There could be more subtasks. So I'm just showing you one example. So I'm just keeping it basic, but normally here content collection, here would be more subtasks in real example. And phase three, so this is another high level. So that is the development. So here we have two tasks. One task is environment setup. and another task is develop the contact task phase. So environment setup, how many subtasks here? 3 subtasks: purchasing the domain, configuring the SSL, install the WordPress or CMS on a staging server, right? So when you are developing the contact us phase, okay, we're going to develop every single phase, right? So I'm just showing you one example, that is developing the, for example, contact us phase, developing the home page, developing the service phase. So every single page required multiple subtasks, right? So build a form, like, okay, JPR webhook setup for CRM, depends on the requirements, or test from submission on mobile, right? So as you can see here, we are basically developing the 5-page website development. It has 3 high-level tasks, and every high-level task has multiple subtasks, and every task has multiple subtasks, right? So this is how you need to, this is what I have discussed so far. So whenever you have a project, you need to break it down into 3 distinct layers: high level, task level, and the subtask level. So depends on your criteria and the requirements. So you are going to define which will be the high level and how you're going to break it down, that particular high level, into the task and the subtask level. So normally now the confusion is how I'm gonna break it down. Like, for example, I have a app design and the development in an agency. How are you gonna decide like how many high level tasks or subtasks? So normally in every company there is, we normally call the SOP, a standard working procedure, right? A standard operating procedure. So for example, every company has their own SOP for every single task, every single, for example, let me show you one SOP. Here is, you can say, web app and mobile app, right? So they have their own SOP, how they, handle the web or mobile app design. So here you can say, first is discovery and research, then planning, then wireframing, then UX design, then UI design, then prototyping, then user testing, then iteration and refinement, then ready for dev, then we are going to send it to the dev handover, right? So this is the the one practical example of a SOP of a how agency the handle web app or mobile app development, design and development. So all this, like here, discovery, research, planning, wireframing, these are basically the high level, and then they break it down into, okay, discover and research, then identify, research, define. So this identify is basically a task level, right? So this task can be break it down into more granular subtasks. So I just kept it one to show you one example. This planning, this is a high level. So this planning has like more than 3, here is 3 tasks, and every task might have 3 or 4 subtasks, right? So wireframing. So you can see, right, you have right now more idea like what is a high level and task level and subtask level. So this is web app and mobile app design. And if you go to, let me show you one more example regarding the social media management, right? So in the social media management, for example, onboarding and discovery, strategy development, content development, then calendar creations, then paid social media advertising. So this is the SOP. So these are the high level: onboarding and discovery, right? So strategy development, high level; content, high level. So how are you going to handle this high level? So then you need to break it down into task level and the subtask level. So normally in every company, whatever the service they are providing, they have their own SOP regarding their service, right? So based on, so whenever you have, for example, you are working for X company and they do web development, they do app development, they do outbound marketing. So whenever you working as a project manager, so you need to first discuss with your company, like, do you guys have any SOP for the service you are providing? If they don't have SOP, then you have to suggest them, okay, let's build the SOP first. So based on the SOP, you can easily decide how many steps. For example, many company, they don't do like they do like wireframing all 3 high level tasks into one task, right? That they can design. Okay. but if there are like other companies, they break it down in more. Okay, wireframe could be high level, user experience high in like they kept it in high level, user interface they kept it in high level. But some companies may skip some of the high level tasks and you know add into like another high level. They don't go for more granular level. They kept one high level and they put everything else into that particular under this under that particular high level. For example, instead of wireframing, I can say simply here I can write simply design. So depends on the company you are working. So under the design, they kept everything else into here. So it could be. So whenever you working with a agency like digital agency, so you need to first ask them, do you guys have any SOP for the service you are providing? If they don't have any SOP, then you need to first build the SOP. So based on that SOP, right? So it would be easier for you to break down the hierarchy, right? So based on the SOP, your next step is basically the simplifying the hierarchy of each project. So having said that, so let me show you two hierarchy, like how the ClickUp hierarchy works and the Asana hierarchy works. So as I told initially, no matter which tool you are using to manage the project, if you master into simplifying the hierarchy or deconstruction of a project, it doesn't matter which tool you are using. It can be ClickUp, Asana, Trello, Jira. It's easy because every single project management tool, uh, you know, uh, they're built on the same exact principle. So if you go, so this is the hierarchy of a ClickUp. So they have workspace. So this is the workspace, then a space. Okay. So workspace and a space, then they have list, and the under list they have tasks, subtasks, then we have nested subtasks, right? So subtasks can be break it down into more nested subtasks, right? So list is high level, then task, then subtask, then nested subtask. And a space and workspace, I will explain you. These are not related to deconstruction. This is not related to deconstruction or simplifying the hierarchy, but it is related to project management. But the thing I have discussed so far, like simplifying the hierarchy, it's not exactly related to that, but it has, the some use like you need to understand the space and workspace, but that will I will explain. That is more fundamental level. But here you can say they have list. List is a high level. Okay, then you have a task, then you have a subtask, then you have a nested subtask. So no matter which tool you are using, first you can how to deconstruction of a project, right? You know how to simplifying the project hierarchy. So for example, someone asked you, okay, let's go for Trello, but you haven't used Trello, so how are you going to implement the Trello there? So first you need to go and the Trello and check how they how they simplify their hierarchy. And then you can the high level, task level, subtask level. So list is high level, right? Task is task, subtask, and the next subtask. So it's easy. So now you can manage easily. And then it will be more clear when I'm going to ClickUp or Asana, but I just show you the fundamentally it's the same thing, the same core principle what I have discussed so far. Every project management tool built on the same on that same principle. So this is Asana. This is Asana hierarchy. So you have projects. So projects is a high level. Then you have tasks. Then you have a subtask. So this subtask can be break down into more nested subtasks. So this portfolios is the same as a space and the goals. Goals is a more high level task, like as more like is a team level. So the goals portfolios is there, but more fundamental and more fundamental things you need to understand of a tool, that is how it's the hierarchy of that particular tool. So there are only three distinct layer of deconstruction of a project. That is a list, task, subtask, and nested subtask. So you have projects. So the project will be high level, task will be task level, and this is the subtask level. So So far, I have discussed with you the one core fundamental aspects of a project management, that is simplifying the project hierarchy. So it has related with the critical thinking as well. So no matter which project you have, so first thing you're gonna do, it's not the tool, it's not anything else, it's the SOP, and then you have to break it down into the, based on your SOP, you have to break it down into the high level, task level, and into the subtask level. So in my next tutorial, I'm going to show you how like this is one example, right? I have discussed so far. So in the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can set up this into the ClickUp. Okay, I'll show you how you can work on ClickUp, and in the ClickUp, I'll show you how to use the ClickUp and navigation in the ClickUp as well. So hope you guys understood so far what I have discussed in this lesson. See you in the next tutorial. Thank you for watching.